April 26th is Power of Econ Day. Stay tuned at the end of this podcast to find out about the free, engaging financial literacy resources for Power of Econ Day, brought to you by Econ Essentials and Discovery Education. Today, we have a little bit of a different Motivational Monday. We're going to be talking with Eileen Lennon about infographics in education. And I really want to motivate you to try infographics with your students or to communicate with your staff. It's such a motivating way to communicate that it's perfect for Motivational Monday, episode 291, Infographics in Education.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
So I was talking to my friend Lisa Nielsen about her blog, and she has this amazing woman, Eileen Lennon, who creates these infographics that just get shared like crazy. So Eileen is on the show with us today to talk about these powerful infographics and how she uses them to communicate. So Eileen, how did you get started using infographics?
Actually, it was Lisa. She had spoken to a bunch of the students in the city system and asked what would speak to them, what would they want as material to learn about digital citizenship. And they said actually infographics was what they would respond to the best. They don't want to read books or brochures. They wanted to look at things. So she started with infographics and she asked me to help her. So I started with her creating the social media guidelines for the New York City Department of Education.
How do you create these infographics?
The website I use is PictoChart. They have a lot of templates. I get an inspiration from one of them and I go from there. In my head, I have an idea. I want this to look like something. And then I just find a template that is close enough to that and I go from there. So they give you a starting point, someplace to start from.
Now, you got to have great content, though, right? I mean, doesn't it take a lot of time to research to get the good content for these infographics?
That's where Lisa comes in. She writes incredible articles and blog posts, and then she sends me the blog posts, and then I cut as much as I need to out of it so that it makes an interesting infographic.
How do the students respond to these infographics?
They love looking around in a classroom at something that's relevant and visually appealing. It's not the teacher's handwriting plastered all over the walls. It's something aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And if you're sitting there staring at a wall for 45 minutes, it's kind of nice to be staring at something a little more prettier than that.
Now, you've also gotten an incredible response from educators because didn't you make a graphic for some things that George Couros has done that has gotten an incredible response? Tell us about that one.
Yes, I read his book, as most people have, and I was very impressed. And it was a profound change in how I was thinking about things. So I realized if I was going to keep that in front of me, I needed to have it in front of me as an infographic. So I created the infographic really for myself, but I did want to put it on my blog and things like that. So I reached out to George and said, is it okay if I do this? And he was, oh, absolutely. I'm going to use it now too. So he pushed it out even more than I did. And now I'm getting people all over the country liking that infographic since then. It's even gone past that he wrote a blog post about how I did ask permission and I didn't steal his material because that has happened to him very often. So I asked permission, I cited my source, and I took it and recycled it to something I could use on my wall. So now I come into my room every day and I see almost a little book report I did for that book, reminding me what I need to do in my classroom every day.
You know, Eileen, you remind me of what Sylvia Duckworth has done. So I kind of feel like you are to infographics what Sylvia is to sketch notes. What do you think about that comparison?
Absolutely. I don't want to step on her toes. She does amazing stuff. I'm trying to stay in my lane.
Which is infographics. But here's the thing. We all have ways to share visually, don't we?
Yes, we do. I have an art background, so this was helping me scratch that itch too, that I was able to be a designer and spread my thoughts about teaching a little further.
If a teacher wants to start using infographics, either themselves or with their students, how do they start?
I would think that even just going into Google Slides or PowerPoint and just facing a small slide first would be the easiest and least intimidating way to go. Take a quote, take an image, and put it all together on a page that it looks good. And when you start feeling comfortable about the type being this size and relating it to the picture, then you're starting to get a sense of design. So that's one piece. Then you add another slide to that and keep working towards a bigger and bigger piece, so that then you can move over to the infographic resources that are online, which PictoChart is one of them, Easily is another one, and also Canva. You can choose any of those. And then they have templates that you wouldn't feel so intimidated to use from that point on. But I would say start with just a slideshow, kind of almost index card image to play with, and then grow from there.
Now, it's really easy to end up with a tacky infographic. Do you have any design tips since you have a design background?
Yes. I call it the Ransom Note School of Design. Keep your typefaces to about 3. You have your heading typeface, an accent or like a caption, and your body text. You don't need any more than that. And also colors. It's not a coloring book. You're trying to send a message out, and it's not supposed to hurt the eye. So keep it to a uniform color so people can recognize the blue is always the headline or the green is always the captions. You want to give them some visual clues about the information you're giving to them. And don't cram it all into a menu design. Give the eye a little space to move around. Have one basic focal point as your catch, and then let the eye drift around the page to find the other information in order of importance.
Now, just because you use pictures and have text on there doesn't mean it's an infographic. What's the purpose of an infographic?
An infographic is to convey a message, and either doing that with actual graphics or with type. It depends on what you're trying to say. But a graphic is always really important on an infographic. It lends some professionalism to it, and you can cram a lot of information into a little graph. So it always helps to have an actual graph on your infographic.
So, Eileen, you've been doing this a while. What are some of the top mistakes you think that educators or their students make when creating infographics?
They try to cover too much. They put a lot of type on a page. It's supposed to be a piece of art, a design. So don't put paragraphs. Bullet points are really the only way you should go. Trying everything to scream at the same volume is also a big one. Let one thing be what catches your eye, and then as your eye wanders, let each thing be a little bit less important so that the eye almost knows where to go next.
Obviously, you're proud of the infographic you did for George's book, Innovator's Mindset. Do you have another infographic that you think, okay, I'm really proud of this?
Lisa's blog post recently about school safety, she had gone into a church and reflected on all the things the church was doing to make people feel welcome, and wanted to take some of those ideas and concepts and make schools do the same thing. So I was thinking of what kind of infographic I could make with a church theme to it, and I was thinking of stained glass, and one of the templates on PictoChart had like a stained glass feel to it. So that one spoke to me immediately. It got the mood that I was looking for, not just the information I wanted out. I really like that one.
So, Eileen, as we finish up, are there any resources that you go to for ideas for your infographics?
Like I said, the templates in all 3 of those websites are really where you can begin and end with inspiration. They have templates for every education, business, Sweet 16s. They have different categories that you can scour, but they really do provide quite a bit of resources on the sites themselves.
So, Eileen Lennon is an expert on infographics. We are going to be linking to a lot of her resources. Of course, Lisa Nielsen does share a lot of these on her blog as well, and we'll link to that as well. But I think it's an important message for us to remember that people like to say a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, an infographic may be worth even more because it has so much content. But we're more likely to read things that are graphically appealing in today's modern era. So if we want to get our message out there, we need to be able to create infographics or sketch notes, as we've had Sylvia on the show before, and really make it appealing and get that message out there. So check out these infographics, and I hope you'll try it out in your classroom. On April 26th, celebrate Power of Econ on Twitter with Discovery Education, CME Group, and their Econ Essentials program. We'll have free resources available for downloading. To join the celebration, tune into the Twitter chat with me, fellow teachers, and the CME Group's chief economist on April 26th at noon Eastern Time using hashtag Power of Econ. Visit coolcatteacher.com/econ for more information. And remember, tweet out your pics on April 26th about how you teach your students financial literacy using hashtag Power of Econ.
Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.